Thanks, Annika. So to get us started with our panel discussion, I'd like to first welcome Caitlin Walsh, who's an FRC alum, mentor extraordinaire, who's going to be moderating today's panel discussion. Thank you, Kate, for doing this for us. And I'd now like to introduce the panelists. Starting off with, we have Sean Spencer, a teacher and digital lead learner at the Toronto District School Board and lead mentor of FLL Challenge Team 310, the Bulldogs. We have Charmaine Lee. I'm not sure if Charmaine's here yet, but Charmaine is hailing from Oakville and the lead mentor of FLL Challenge Team 34235, the Big Brain Builders. Richard McMullen, who's an engineer and entrepreneur who's been coaching teams for over 10 years, many of whom have completed at the provincial and international competitions. Christine Bibick, who has 10 years, more than 10 years, like 15 years now. When did I first meet you? 2005? Something like that. It's been a long time. Christine's been just everywhere on all levels of First LEGO League and First Tech Challenge and FRC, and has organized many tournaments, and now is the program manager for First LEGO League Discovery and Explorer for Canada. We also have Yannick Yu, who's a senior software engineering manager in the cybersecurity sector and the lead mentor of FLL Challenge Team 51093, Lightning Tech. And Lisa Wiles, new to the scene as lead mentor of Team 27091, UMS. She's also a technology teacher who enjoys a hands-on approach to learning and is building on the positive year despite many new challenges. So Kate, why don't you take us away for this panel discussion?
So I'm going to start us off in our kind of robot game building section of some of the questions we wanted to ask. So just open to all panelists. Just unmute yourself when you want to respond. How can students build mission models, a robot, and attachments while maintaining a safe distance from one another, or if meeting virtually? So, Sean?
So I can.
Oh, go for it.
Okay, so I'm new, so I'm still learning, but I attended a training in June with Annika for the VRT, and over the summer, I've been just meeting with a core bunch of girls that were from grade 6 last year on our team, and we've just been exploring and learning the VRT, and my idea was that I would use that core to help to teach the rest of the kids the new programs, because obviously we were all hands-on, and for this year so far, our school has decided that there's no meeting in person yet. We're just waiting to see what's going to be happening in case of a second wave or something. So we're taking advantage of the VRT. We've been using the City Shaper map, but we knew what the mission, well, we know what the missions are now. We've known since, since August, sort of. So we've been just practicing anyway, even using the map, just building around and doing that way. So that's what we've been doing.
And the VRT, for everybody, just in case, is the Virtual Robotics Toolkit. Awesome. Does anyone else have any other kind of tips on maintaining a safe distance or meeting virtually?
Well, just I guess somewhat similar. I mean, we have cohorts at our school. So looking at students that are on the team as we form the team that might be in the same cohort, that might be able to visit on a regular basis our STEAM room. Right now, our STEAM room is kind of out of bounds. So it would be, access would be limited to only a very small number of students that would hopefully be part of the same cohort, and have the table set up and have only those students use it. But of course, sharing would be going on through taping of their attempts and things like that. And everyone's contributing to the building of the code and things like that. Hope that makes a bit of sense.
Yeah, that's a really great idea, especially with the cohorting idea and the size of some FLL Challenge teams. You could work to develop that even if you're not in a school. So it's a really great idea that you've got there too, Sean.
We were talking in our breakout group a little bit about the idea of sending kits or sharing kits. If you were working virtually or remotely, you could have one student, or if it's a pair of students that are cohorted together, work on some mission models and send the whole kit over to them. And you've seen at tournaments sometimes where teams set up a mat in the hallway of a tournament and start practicing. You don't need an official table to actually code up a mission and try it at home. So if you could send that whole kit to one household, and then they would have it maybe for 10 days and then pack it all up. If it's in a box and sitting there for a couple of days, the COVID risk is gone in delivering it to the next person. So I don't know if you could get some sort of pass off tree in your group to move the mission models and the robot and even the computer that you're using to program, like kind of from student to student over the course of several weeks.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, Richard, and on making sure that you can keep the whole team involved. Does anyone have any concepts? I know we talked a little bit about a steam room, but how we can make sure that equipment is safely handled and shared in some kind of handoff like that?
Sorry, I think what Richard said made a lot of sense. You know, if you come up with a schedule where you've got a group of students or team members at any given time that have the equipment, that are practicing on it, of course being shared with everyone else somehow through digitally, but you know, like given a period of time between when it's being used to the handoff, if it's a safe period of time where you know there aren't going to be any dangers as far as COVID is concerned. I think that's great. And I just wanted to say that you know what Richard said really kind of resonated with me, because we're looking at how we can combine students that are in the virtual school with students that are actually in the brick and mortar, because we've got both sets of kids that want to be on the team this year. So yeah, that was brilliant. Thank you, Richard, for that suggestion.
Yeah, that's a really great addition, Sean. Yannick or Christine, do you have any ideas on other kind of software, maybe related to programming or team management, that we can virtually connect with students?
Sure. Two things. First, about the rotating robot. We've been doing exactly that. We are actually just still navigating through to figure out how to handle the robot in a more practical way, to get them sanitized, everything. We're still trying to learn. But on top of it, what I've been trying to do is to try to encourage the team to use some of the tool to build the robot, to share the robot design virtually, you know, on their computer. Something we found is a pretty amazing tool, a Studio 2.0. That's something you can use to design the robot, entire robot and attachment, which is all on your computer. And the reason we found it, actually, we decided to use it also bit of interesting. Last year we were using Lego Digital Designer, but with very little success, because everyone would like to play with a physical robot. Right? This year we kind of run out of options. We only have one robot, but Lego Digital Designer doesn't work on Mac anymore, the latest version of Mac. I happen to have one kid on the team who's using a Mac. I do want everyone to participate instead of being just a Windows boys working on design, while the Mac girl actually just being left out. So I did a bit of a research, and turned out the Studio 2 is a great tool being available on both platforms. Being said that, I think we'll be making progress, but still we're trying to navigate through, because it's not something that easy to master for kids like 10 years old, 9 years old. I have one 9 years old kid. I've been trying my best to teach them how to use the tool. We have some live sessions, remote sessions. And this is a great tool for like having one design you share with the rest. We can all build on top of it. But we're still navigating through. What I learned, as I mentioned in the breakout session, kids at this age, they like to play with the physical pieces, the robot. They like put things together, take them apart. It's fun, really fun. I enjoy doing it myself as part of teaching them. But to play with the use PC to do the same thing from an adult's point of view is more powerful or more flexible. From kids' point of view, it's just a lot less interesting. I'm still navigating through to see how to achieve the balance. Yeah, that's something I want to share.
That's a really great idea. Is the Studio 2.0 a like cloud-based software?
No, it's not cloud-based, but it's free to download. Actually, I'm not 100% sure whether it's open source, but it's a fantastic tool. It's free to everyone to use and available on both major platforms, Windows and Mac.
Awesome. And Christine, did you have something to add?
Sure. Our teams right now are only meeting virtually. So it's a learning curve for all of us, but I think we're finding what works and what doesn't work, and it might be different for each team. We're using our Slack channel right now and we're setting up sort of calls through that because all of the kids are familiar with that platform, and that's something that we use for other forms of communication as well. So it's nice because it gives us one central location for everything. We're planning on using, much like was just suggested, some, and giving the kids the option of what they'd like to use, but as far as sort of designing the robot using CAD software, basically. And then we are also going to be we are in a lucky position in that we have multiple EV3s available. So we will be able to provide EV3s for groups of students to use at home. So some of them being siblings will be able to share. So that's a great thing for us, and we're going to take full advantage of that. And when it comes time to the missions, when we get to that point where we'll be programming those, I think we're looking at getting that second field set kit so that we can sort of have more options that way too. So that's what we're doing so far, but it's still a work in progress.
Those are some really great ideas, and especially making sure that you're either cleaning or leaving some things alone or having more than one set. So that's a good idea to make sure that we're staying safe with everything that we're doing, especially with the students and the participants on the team. So thank you for that. Has any of the panelists found any really good resources that are cloud-based or online in regards to programming, or do you have a favorite CAD-based software for building the robot?
I'm not sure if this quite answers your question, but one of the things that we use for programming is a tool that we've developed ourselves. So we've done YouTube tutorials and posted them online from Waffles Community Robotics. And we have a lot of teams that I know utilize those every year, because even our FRC team, when we go to World Championships, we get FLL teams coming over telling us how much they appreciate them. So they're short videos, and it means that we don't have to reteach things year after year, and that if students don't remember something, they can go back and review it themselves. All of the videos are really short, so it's not like you have to sit through 20 minutes of explanation. They're really to the point, and so it means it's easy to find a solution. If you have a problem or a question, you can easily look it up and watch something, and in a couple of minutes sort of be off on your own. So that's a tool that we use that we find very helpful.
That's really amazing, Christine. Maybe one of our moderators in chat can find the link to your YouTube channel and post that for the coaches to look at later. I want to move on to some of the kind of team building and team structure questions. In terms of team cohesion, how can we make sure that core values can be practiced and demonstrated in a virtual meeting? Anyone have thoughts on that?
I think one possibility, if you're meeting virtually, especially, and if you're using something like a Google Meet or any sort of platform like that, is to have different students moderate the meeting. So you're distributing the leadership. You have a core set of practices that you're doing at every meeting, but have it run and moderated by different students.
That's a great idea. That's something that we do on our FRC team is we nominate different people every meeting to take notes. So even building off of that with the moderator role is really great for an online environment. And I just see that Dave and Sarah have posted some links to the Waffle Robotics if anyone wants to check that out after the meeting. Lisa, more as a kind of new mentor, what are you thinking about all of this? Remote meetings in general, what's your thoughts?
So I'm teaching online, and our school started complete live teaching last March. So I'm incorporating a few other things, like, I don't know if people are using Nearpod. I find that Nearpod is a good platform to keep people engaged. So you can put collab boards in there. You can put draw in if people are trying to do some draws and stuff. Because I find for the virtual, it can be a little bit too lecture-like when because you're just talking and talking, and the kids can zone out. So I've incorporated a few games and a few Nearpod things to also incorporate like social emotional learning in my classes, and it's trickling into the club. I don't know, just I'm trying to just keep it fun and light, because I think that one of the things that maybe we forget is the kids are going through a stressful time as well, and we have to remember that. And I know that like we're like keen and getting things started and getting down to business and trying to get ready for all the deadlines, but we're stressed about what's happening. The news is like scary, and I think that we need to let the kids just have some room to breathe and be creative and feel comfortable and safe. So I try not to put too much pressure. I think last year we were pushing them a lot, and this year I'm trying to make just a more informal environment with a little bit more. I'm trying to just incorporate a little bit more fun in it. And it seems like when the kids are feeling more safe and fun, they end up, the core values end up coming out like naturally. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just
I think that makes perfect sense, and I see a lot of nodding here coming from some of the other panelists. So you're for sure hitting some really important topics, and I really appreciate how much thought that you've put into those aspects. And keep in mind that not everyone is comfortable online, and especially kids in that FLL challenge age. A lot of the messaging prior to this was don't talk to strangers and don't talk to people online. So it's really important to keep that in mind too when you're getting into meetings. That I think is really special and important to think about as coaches. Sean has put in chat that FLCasts is another great resource. Did you want to talk to that about at all, Sean?
Yeah, it's one that we started to use last year, and it actually really helped us when we built our robot, as well as when we were actually just putting together the different missions. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on that site, and we were able to get a team account last year and this year, so that different team members, students can go on and actually practice things as well. I mean, you can use it as little or as much as you want to. So that's what we use to help us.
Awesome, thanks. And I know that we had a question earlier in chat about the research project. Does anyone have any thoughts on that question that, excuse me for the pronunciation, Pallavi had? The research project seems to stress technology. Does that mean that it's all about technological solutions? Does anyone have thoughts on that? And then maybe also how we could present that on an online platform. So just to kind of reiterate, maybe what things do you try and focus on when looking at research project,
Yeah,
and how might that change? Go
that's a
ahead.
really great question. A research project is not, just to remind everyone, is not necessarily all about research. It's about creating an innovation. And that innovation, typically in a first environment, is manufactured object rather than, say, a political solution. So lobbying the government is not really exactly the type of solution that people are looking for. So you want to create a solution that's, in this case, I think the challenge directly refers to something technical. However, the examples that we see in some of the videos of taking a tire and attaching a rope and making a swing out of it, may be age appropriate for your students, that kind of thing. But I would definitely lean towards an object type or a game type solution that creates activities, and maybe incorporating technology as much as you can, but not going down the idea of lobbying for a political solution.
Sean?
So yeah, definitely a technical or an object type solution.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I totally agree with Richard. And remember, technology is not always about the computer. I mean, technology could be any everyday object that you're adding to the activity to enhance it. So I think that that would be interesting to start to think around or think of it in that way. And for us, in the last couple of years, because we're just a 2-3-year-old team, we relied heavily on reaching out to experts in the field and mentors to get input on things. So I think that that's a really good approach. It's really worked for us.
I totally agree with that, Sean. And there's especially in a lot of these virtual environments where we're moving our meetings online, there's a really great opportunity to contact and solicit some information from experts online. So maybe in a platform where you weren't previously able to get the experts to come in and work with the students on your team, now you will be able to because the kids are comfortable in that platform more now. So just things to think about, right? The other thing that I just anecdotally wanted to mention was I had the privilege of being a project judge for some of the pieces at Ontario Provincial Championships last year, and the projects were amazing, and they for sure not all tech focused. It's centered around that general theme, and really remember that you don't have a whole lot of time to present that idea. So I would really encourage practicing and presenting your information since everything is going to be presented online this year.
My understanding about this project is an innovation project, right? It's not a really research project. So the key is about being innovative because it's about around the innovation. Something like technology plays a major part of it, but you don't have to be technologically heavy to be innovative. Could be a very smart idea to get something done and bring some more impactful result. But it doesn't have to using something like a Raspberry Pi or Arduino or something very heavy with technology to make it happen. It could be a simple idea leveraging some rather non-technical element, but the overall idea had to be innovative. That's my understanding of what there's some overlap, but that doesn't have to be purely about technology.
Yeah, that's really true. Thank you for that addition. I would love to just move on as we're getting to near the end of our session to some of the idea of recruiting in a virtual kind of atmosphere. How do you think that we can address some parent concerns around FLL or your team in this year?
Hi, just briefly, I know what we plan to do is to keep things as transparent as possible. I mean, at our school, the parents have always been a huge supporter of the program, and they've made a big difference. They have made, and I'm sure they will continue to. So just keeping them up to date with what's happening, visiting even our meetings, especially if we're having it virtually. We plan on creating things like, we used to be the Google G+, but now it's Google Currents, right? So if we had to have that platform, make sure the parents are invited, they can make comments, they can ask questions, they can get clarification, that sort of thing.
I've been trying, oh, sorry.
Go, Lisa.
I've been trying to just sort of build on the positive because right now we're virtual, so it's a safe environment. I've been posting our Zoom meetings on we have like Edsby, so on our group, I've been posting that so the parents can go and even see what's happening, which before they weren't. So I'm kind of telling them, like you have more of a front row seat of what's actually happening, as well as being able to attend the competitions if they're going to be virtual. A lot more people will be able to. So I'm trying to, obviously be safe and project that their safety is first, but I'm also trying to show them that although it's different this year, there's also some positive things that can come out of it, and I think the parents are kind of happy about that as well.
That's a really amazing idea, and that really that kind of concept, Lisa, really opens up accessibility and kind of makes it accessible to everybody on your team, especially some parents that might want to know how their kids are doing or learning about what they're learning about too. So it could be helpful to even encourage some members of the community to join in and become coaches and mentors themselves. So that's a really great idea to help the community. Um, in terms of um, doing remote meetings, what kind of digital conferencing and collaboration tools exist? I know we've talked about Google, Slack, we've had Zoom. Does anyone else use anything or would suggest any ideas? I think that's great. I see we also have a question. Oh, Discord as well. Discord could be a good option. I would make sure that we're making sure that everything is safe with the students as well. So just on any platform that we're using, make sure that we're trying to adhere to those guidelines. We've got Annika has a thought on remote desktop for collaborative coding. That's a really good idea. That could be an alternative to some cloud-based options. I know that programming and physical building is something that's kind of the biggest hurdle when getting into the concept of a remote season. The other thing I see in chat here is that it helps when you live in a rural area and requires a lot of driving to a physical location. I agree with that kind of remote concept. Does anyone have any kind of, just as we close out, advantages that we've seen in transitioning to a remote team this year? Any of the panelists, what have been some of the pros?
I think there have been tons of pros. I think these kids are getting exposed to online tools that they might not have, and they're very comfortable with them. And I think like platforms like Slack, which a lot of businesses use. So these guys are really learning how to use these things now. I think it's allowed opportunity for new students that might not have otherwise had an opportunity to join a team to be part of it. I know we've encouraged, relatives from farther away or whatever, because if it's all going to be virtual, the physical distance isn't an issue at all. It's just gone. And I think these are tools that I hope that we can bring forward with us and sort of take the best of what we learned this year, or hopefully not next year too, but take these tools and sort of use them to our advantage going forward so that we can make things even better going forward. And I think if we can really focus on those positives and show the kids how to take a situation that's really tough and how to make something really good come from it, I think that's one of the most valuable things we can teach them any year. And I think this year is definitely the year to do that.
Thank you so much. That's such a great kind of good closing statement for that. Thank you to all of the panelists, all of your expertise for taking the time out of your day and out of the panel discussion or the breakout discussion to kind of hop back in and figure everything out. This has been a really great resource, and I know that a few of you are doing some of the conferences later this week on some of those topics. So for sure, anyone in chat, check it out. And check out some of those resources that we've sent in chat. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you, Caitlin, for being such an amazing moderator and asking some really great questions and some really good discussion here that I think our community is going to appreciate, those who are watching live and those who are going to catch this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel going forward.